Okay, welcome everybody to Wall Street Reporter's next super stock, a live stream May 12th, an exciting day in the markets, an exciting week. Everything is down, but VSBY is still actually up. From the time we introduced it, it's up about 3x. So I think Jay, you debuted around 18 cents Canadian, and we're in the 50-cent range. We were at $1, but there's a little bit of a market half price sale the last couple of months. It's a little NASDAQ, growth stocks are down, but looks like in the stock, surprisingly, the stock is actually pretty stable here. All else being, taken into consideration.
Public company CEOs don't get paid to have a long memory, man. So it's just what have we done lately? It's really what
exactly. So we get a lot of people in the audience, get a lot of fans, and especially on such a ugly day in the markets. NASDAQ down a couple hundred points as we get into it. But let's talk about the future. I think Jay, what we need to do is we got to look at our goal is to bring our audience these 10x to 100x stocks. What needs to happen? For VSBY, to get to, I'll start with you with the fundamentals, and I'll kind of talk about the analysis. But to get to 100 million revenues, and we'll work backwards. What do you need to do right now? What's the roadmap to get to 100 million revenues?
Let me turn it around a bit and say, what we don't need to do is create additional demand. And I was never in a position for the last 3 years to be able to say that. We now need to execute on the demand we've articulated. Okay. And that's an uncommon approach for a small cap company. And by that, I mean, we landed an Anheuser-Busch deal. We've announced it, and we're about to go into a joint venture with them that will be announced shortly. Large companies take a long time. And it's frustrating to me, just like it is to the shareholders, that this takes a lot of time to put together. But enduring relationships, 5 to 7 years, it's okay if it takes a little bit longer initially, as long as you get the right deal in place. So let me come around to answer the question. Based upon our pipeline of opportunities right now, if we didn't do a thing more, we fired all our salespeople, we'd still get north of 100 million in revenue just by executing on the stuff that we've already brought into the barn. So as a public company CEO, that's I've never been in a position to say that before. You usually have to keep the engine rolling. You have to keep pouring coal on the fire to keep the engine roaring. But we don't have to do that. Now, don't get me wrong. We're still going to create additional demand. But the point, to answer the question, maybe in an academic context, is what would it take for us to get to 100 million? I project we'll be north of 100 million in revenue in 3 years, and potentially sooner, because I don't know what I don't know. In other words, what are we adding to our pipeline from now forward that would allow that to occur? If I just took the business that's available to us now, and the two major pillars of that business are the Anheuser-Busch deal in Latin America, and a deal that's a commercial deal with a large player that we haven't announced yet, that has 3 components of revenue connected to it. Working on putting that to bed right now, and those 2 deals taken together, as I said, if we did nothing else, that would be enough to get us to that point, Jack.
Okay, so 100 million revenues within 3 years. That includes what, the Modelo, the Grupo Modelo deal, and all that stuff. Yeah.
Yes, okay. Correct.
So basically, so Jay, so here's the thing. So if you get to 100 million, based on the market comps, I mean, look, I know there's the valuations are being compressed a little bit, with the NASDAQ sell, but I think things, if you can deliver that type of growth, and especially with the unique thing that VSBY is doing, because really, I mean, you're in a kind of it's a very unique company. You're kind of at this intersection of have the analytics, the digital transformation of retail, all the digital marketing stuff, the security aspect, all 3 rolled into one. This could easily be a 20x revenue, valuation. So 2 billion plus valuation, if you could do all. Because here's what's something interesting. I think a lot of people don't realize is you're basically building out, and we're going to talk about the details, how the plan, everything else. But essentially you're building out the largest out-of-home digital ad network, the in-store network. So what
on
is
the planet.
What is that worth? Is that worth $1 billion, 10 billion? What is that worth?
Well, leaving aside the revenue connected to it, what's its intrinsic value?
Yeah. To have thousands of those screens on the coolers, on the store, all that stuff. I mean, how much would it cost for somebody for somebody who would be willing to pay for that, like a Google, for Google to want to get into that side of the business, the physical world?
Many billions. Many billions.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So basically, this stock could be basically you're 60 million market cap today, based on where it is right now. So essentially, this is a 30x from here, 40x upside.
All you have to do is talk to Anheuser-Busch about their perceived value of the network to get an answer to your multiples. And what they'll tell you is this is a natural, logical extension of their business, because to them, even though it is a digital media network, and that's its principal means of monetization, it is also real-time transaction logs. It's also security. It's also operational elements, which increases the value of that network by orders of magnitude. What does that mean to ABI? It means a streamlined, just-in-time inventory management supply chain. It's not just advertising. Sure, it incorporates advertising, and advertising is the means with which revenue is generated, but it also have an operational benefit because it allows them to streamline their entire operations, not only to their own stores, but what you might not know about ABI is they conduct supply chain and procurement for an additional several 100,000 stores in Latin America. So at the end of the day, the bigger this network gets on the back of advertising, the more valuable it is in multiple aspects of how ABI builds their business. That's a story that hasn't been told. I'm conscious of complicating my story too much, but that's a really compelling. So if you talk to ABI, ABI's opinion is this is never going to be sold to Google because it's too valuable to us. So it's interesting, the perspective, right?
No, it's so the upside. I mean, so the way I look at it is, look, the upside on the stock is I mean, from here, it's, what is it? We're talking about 20, 30x plus, 40x plus, on the outside. So there's, so here's, so for anybody that's just tuning in, this is, our goal with the next Super Stock live streams is to bring you those stocks which have that 10x to 100x upside. So, companies going after multi-billion-dollar market opportunities that are a key inflection point, and there's multiple catalysts to drive that growth. VSBY hits all three of those, and you have that big upside. So it's really for investors. It's an asymmetric bet. I mean, you're betting basically, 50 cents to make, $10 plus, $15 plus on the stock. So it's a pretty good bet. So, so Jay, let's get into the details. It's been a couple of weeks, maybe almost a month since you were last.
Something like that, yeah.
You had a lot of things. I mean, a lot of progress. I want to kind of unpack, all the stuff, the partnerships, the glass deal with the Onyx, the coolers as a service we're going to talk about, and the security aspect. There's a lot of stuff going on. What do you want to start? You want to start with the latest announcement with the Onyx deal, the partnership?
Sure, we can start with that.
Okay.
I view that announcement to be more about a doubling down with Embera. We're leveraging. So for several years, we've been collaborating with various platform developers, hardware developers. As a software guy, hardware is a necessary evil to me. But the innovation started in South Africa, where you have fully transparent door that can also be digital display, which is really the underpinning technology. We couple that with our technology so that we can coordinate display with what's being seen in real time, and the display can be informed by the audience in front of it, which is our value proposition. We were talking to Embera and have been talking to Embera for a while. Just as a reminder, Embera is the largest cooler manufacturer in the world. Their biggest customer is Coca-Cola. They have a lot of placement and a lot of cachet in the American market. They're Monterrey based in Mexico. And we started to talk to them, and now we've integrated our technology into their product at factory. So the idea of building our digital display and our analytics, our camera-based analytics, into a cooler at the manufacturing facility. And what's better than that is, instead of selling a several $1,000 digital cooler, which has all these new benefits for advertising, which of course is the value proposition, they're renting it or leasing it to the operator on their books. And so for us, anytime you can take a CapEx and turn it into an OpEx, particularly when that OpEx has a revenue model connected to it, you've got a very, very seamless and frictionless way to enter the marketplace. And I'll give you some real numbers. That cooler might be licensed for $150 a month, but the media value of that cooler in a grocery is $400 to $600 a month. So you've got an immediate benefit by digitizing that cooler, and now you've got Coca-Cola, now you've got every beverage on the planet that wants to display advertising on top of that cooler.
Okay, so basically, it's essentially a no-brainer decision for a store. They're putting the cooler in. They're basically, they're basically paying $150 a month to rent it, whatever, the license, whatever it is for the cooler, but they're making $400 from all the brands who are advertising.
Exactly.
Because for anybody that's just, again, we will have a lot of new people watching this. So Jay, explain to us how this thing works. Somebody's passing by.
Yeah, sure.
Just give us the.
As a reminder, the store is a very valuable advertising medium. And you might ask yourself, why? Why is it a valuable medium? It's a valuable medium, especially cooler. Cooler is a destination location. Now that may seem, not well understood by most people, but many people, when they go into a store, are going to the cooler. They're not going anywhere else. They're not paying attention to anything. They're going to buy a case of beer, or they're going to buy a 6-pack of Coke, whatever. The cooler itself is the place where they're going. And it's also in retail. So the place itself is valuable because you're at a place where you can be influenced. 70% of us, when we go to retail, buy something we had not intended to buy, which means that despite the fact that we think we're autonomous individuals, we can be influenced at the point of sale. So the point of sale is a very valuable medium. The reason why it hasn't been articulated as a media channel historically is because there was no measurement.
The technology wasn't there. To do what you're doing.
Measurement.
Right. So basically, in a nutshell, if I can explain, tell me if I'm correct. Essentially, your technology is, which we didn't even talk about this yet. We talked about this. I got you distracted with the stock and everything else. But essentially, the technology. In other words, can you explain how the technology works? So
sure,
target ads, and then we could because
there are 3 components to the technology, and 2 of which are meaningful in the retail context, which is what we're talking about here. We have content management, which is a very sophisticated way of lighting up that screen, wherever that screen might be, whatever that screen might be, wherever it's placed, at the end of an aisle, in the aisle, at the cooler. So we have technology that allows for content to be run on that screen. So it's a content management system. The second one is camera-based analytics. So when the Coca-Cola ad is playing from second 1 to second 15, we can tell you, by way of reporting and analytics and artificial intelligence, how many men in front of the screen, how many women in front of the screen, how many unique visitors in front of the screen. Now, do you see how the language is evolving into the internet, Google Analytics world? Now we're beginning to speak about store and the same way that websites are monetized. We have this many recurring visitors, this many unique visitors per month on a specific website. That's the principal metric for valuing an internet property. We're doing that in retail. So we are the Google Analytics for retail for the first time, really, not because of, the principal reason is computer vision allows us to do measurement in real time. And that's what finally closed the gap between store and internet. And that's why the store is going to start to suck up some of those internet advertising dollars, because it's actually a better place to do brand promotion.
Yeah. So it's interesting because Google or who's doing those things, the outdoor city, whatever. The Google does those outdoor things. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because and this is much more powerful because this is actually at the point of sale. The guy's in the store, they're ready to buy, so they can be influenced. Are they going to buy a Coke or Pepsi or, you know, Canada Dry? So there's your you know, that's I mean, incredibly valuable. The other thing you should also mention is, you know, so you got the analytics. There's a camera there, so it can track, and also there's a security component to it, which is extremely valuable. Yep. In where is it, in Latin America, where you're primarily launching? But
it's particularly valuable in Latin America because if you run a small 40 square meter convenience store in Latin America, you're going to get robbed. It's going to happen. And the idea of providing over the exact same network that's individually monetized by advertising dollars to develop a capability that, hey, if some bad guy robbed a Modelorama in Guadalajara, maybe he'll rob one that's in the county 30 miles away. So building a database on the fly of bad guys, not only looking for bad guys as persons, but weapons live, and be able to alert directly to police on that ability, that's a value. It allows ABI to enter the conversation with a philanthropic spin. We're doing things that will protect the empresarios, the guys that run the operations. And that's valuable to them as a brand.
Yeah, from the banditos.
Right, exactly.
All right, so basically, this you're actually now you have actually in Mexico City. You're actually deployed in, what is it? One of the, it's like a, I don't know how to explain. It's not a city. It's inside of Mexico. It's a neighbor where they have their own mayor, or
they call them counties. And the best way, you're an ex-New Yorker.
Yeah,
New York has boroughs.
Yeah.
These have mayors, right? Or leaders.
Okay.
They have the same thing in Mexico City, except they have 11 of them, and they're called counties. But they each have a mayor. We're deployed principally, though not exclusively, in 4 counties in Mexico City, something like 10,000 cameras now, and there's been 40% crime reduction in the critical counties. And that's important because that's a crazy city. It's a dangerous city.
Yeah, so 40% that's a big number. I mean, this is how, you know, people win elections. Is if you can say, hey, we reduced crime 20%, you know, it's a big deal. Okay, and at the same time, so just you know, those, so essentially you have display ad networks in that city, and so you know, you're showing display, people see the display, and there's a camera there, you're getting all that data, etc.
We're not, for the Mexico City security deployment, we're not coupled with display. We're just camera technology with running our inference logic, which is our algorithms behind the camera feeds. So we're doing things, not just security elements, by the way, counting traffic, looking for cars that are parked for 2 hours in a 1 hour parking zone, things like that computer vision is uniquely equipped to do. Of course, we're expanding all of the algorithm capabilities, all the feature components, we're expanding that. And so by the end of this year, we'll be running many thousands of cameras, running different algorithms on each of the cameras, not just security, public utility, city services, those sorts of things as well.
Okay, so this traction. Okay, so you're getting do you think the cooler thing is going to be the biggest? Is that the biggest opportunity? What do you think is the biggest?
Oh, by far, the Anheuser-Busch deployment, 50,000 stores in 4 years. Something like
the coolers, basically.
That's not the cooler space. That's not part of the core deal. We're adding that in later, which is a wonderful point, Jack, because our current contract contemplates additional digital platforms, but hasn't put it in. So that's upside to us. There's 9,000 stores that are owned by Modelorama, 4 coolers per store. So if we just did 1 cooler per store, which is a clear economic model that makes perfect sense, that's 9,000 coolers. And with an average cost base of $6,000 or $7,000 per cooler and a revenue model, a SaaS revenue model per month per store, we have considerable upside just in that contract.
Okay. And one of the other things is you're going to be doing you're basically going to be getting a piece of the action from this ad network.
Yes, 33% participant in the joint venture.
Okay. And this could be how big? 3 years from now.
By the end of year 4, the gross revenue to the joint venture is in the neighborhood of 250 to 270 million. So it's significant.
Okay, and it's pretty much mostly all margin. There's no real. I mean,
it's recurring. It's just like SaaS. It's recurring because Pepsi might buy.
It's almost pure profit because it's basically you're just popping up ads, digital ads. It's not like you're making billboards. It's like it costs you nothing.
Your only cost is the commission to the entity that placed the media. Okay. And in some cases, that's us.
Okay. So you could be, in theory, generating, 50 million plus to the bottom. I mean, that would go pretty much straight to the bottom line.
Oh, yeah, completely. And in preparation for this Mexico deal that goes to joint venture very shortly here, we've incorporated a Mexican subsidiary so that we can be in a ready position to take dividends and pull those dividends dollar for dollar to the bottom line. Had we not done that, incorporated a Mexican facility, we would have had withholding and all sorts of things that take away from that gross. So because we can now put that money directly in a Mexican subsidiary, that all goes to our consolidated balance sheet. So that I'm glad we did that.
I mean, I don't understand why this thing is not like $4 a share right now. It should be like 250 million valuation just based on the like the market opportunity and how close you are to getting there. Because let me just address maybe if you can address this. I think he's asking you, not me. Okay, Jay, what will be the actual revenue for 21 versus the bookings, which we know are 15 to 20 million?
Projecting 4 to 7 million in actual billed revenue, historical revenue, and the bookings is the sort of leading indicator, which is because SaaS is multi-year contracts. 1 goes to 2, goes to 4, and you've got a pretty good visibility to your contract revenue because that bookings is a leading indicator. Going forward, my responsibility as the CEO, and I'll do this on a quarter-over-quarter basis, is talk about the billings versus the bookings, because what investors want to see is a correlation between the two. A climbing of the bookings to give you greater confidence that that inflection is underway. And to that point, in 2020, on an annualized basis, we did double the recurring revenue in 21 first quarter than we did in all of 2020. So that's the inflection point we're talking about here. So on an annualized basis, we did more in Q1 2021 than we did on an annualized basis in all of 2020. And that's precisely the inflection point that you're looking to track, right?
Big number. Okay, but you're gonna do you're comfortable with bookings of the 15 to 20 million, 20 this year. Okay, which is so again, it should be 10x to 250 million. I mean, the stock should be basically $4 plus based on those numbers. I'm shocked. I mean, well, the market's a little below, but it is amazing. Okay, let's see. Okay, so let's jump to some audience questions. Ramsey, what do you earn in SaaS per store of the 9,000 stores?
So I'm not going to disclose the SaaS per store, not because I don't think it's a legitimate question. It really is, but that's very competitive secret sauce. And as a consequence of significant negotiation with AB InBev, we've agreed that, well, we've agreed not to talk about that number because my competitors will use that number as a litmus test. But the range is between $8 and $20 per store, depending upon the function or features that are running on each of those stores. That's probably the best way to answer it.
Okay. Here's an interesting question. How likely is the ABI deal to lead to other large-scale deals?
There's 2 components to this, actually. Anheuser-Busch is a global brand, and they have similar presence in other regions of the world that they have in Latin America. And already we're in conversations with at least 1 region and possibly 2, certainly 1 advanced conversation in another region, just basically wanting to follow the template that's been laid out in Latin America. I'm not projecting that. I'm not monetizing. I'm not putting a number on it at the moment. We don't want to be gunslingers, but we've got opportunities elsewhere in Anheuser-Busch territory. The second thing is, because they're such a significant brand, and because this is the nexus or coordination of that marketing line and that security line together, others are now seeing that. So you can look at other C-store chains or specific brand-based chains globally, they're looking at that same concept. We've got action here in the US, and we've got action in Europe and in Africa as well. Same model, similar model.
Okay. Eric is asking, can you explain the difference between license fees versus software license development revenues?
Sure. The difference between a license fee is a software as a service. An endpoint to us is either a camera or a processor, in some cases both. And depending upon the features that are running on that, which modules are running on it, we charge X number of dollars per endpoint. That's a license fee. If we have a customer, however, that gets a glimpse into our development roadmap, and maybe they see something 6 months down the road in our development roadmap, and this has happened, we want that. And we say, well, you don't have the right to disrupt our roadmap. You're going to have to wait. We can't wait. We got to have it now. Okay. So you prepay license, and you prepay what we call NRE in our business, non-recurring engineering. In order for us to accelerate our roadmap, you pay us to do so. And that's software development fees. That's the difference.
Okay. When do you think we're going to see the first, really big quarter when people are going to say, wow, they're going to just, sit up and pay attention that this thing is really, the train is leaving the station here, or the rocket.
Definitely, you'll see a glimpse of it in Q2, but you'll see a lot of it in Q3. The Q2 will happen, the curve will start to happen, but Q3 is the really, where we're going to see significant growth. Not to suggest that Q2 won't have that growth, but it will really start to happen in Q3.
Okay, and when are those numbers going to be out? The Q2 and the Q3 approximate, when is that?
Well, we're in Q2 right now. So that's August-ish.
August, okay, so August for Q2.
Yep.
Okay.
And then for Q3, it will probably be November, late November.
Okay, so we're already in what are we in May already? So
yeah,
we're in May. So the next 3 to 6 months, basically,
yes,
in November is really going to be the big. That's going to be.
And we've to some degree we've guided some of those numbers. For Anheuser-Busch as an example, we'll be at 5,000 stores by the end of the year. So 5,000 stores will generate something in the neighborhood of 10 to 15 million in media revenue, and about 600K to $1 million in build SaaS revenue. That's build revenue. It will also have a different number. On the top of my head, it's about 5 to 7 million in 3-year projected bookings revenue. So this is the way SaaS works. You got a billing and you got a booking. So we've got significant momentum coming, starting that, and pretty good visibility to that we've guided to some degree already on.
Okay. Would you look at deploying in the beer store in Canada, which is what's the beer store? Is that like a big?
I think that's an Ontario thing.
That's an Ontario thing. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, certainly we would look to do that, and we've got a template. In fact, because it often comes down to individuals, the guy at ABI that was responsible for championing our cause is actually a Canadian. And he was moved to Mexico and then moved back to Canada. Now he's moved over to APAC. And the first thing he wants to do in APAC is more of this. So this is, and people are driven by ideas and concepts that they're familiar with. So we hope to grow because of that at ABI.
Okay, what's amazing is essentially your the model that you have. What's incredible about VSBY is that you have this big market opportunity, but then you have this something which is extremely scalable. I mean, this is like a very easy thing to explain to somebody why should they deploy this in their store. I mean, it's a no-brainer decision. There's it's a cookie cutter type of thing. You can just scale out globally.
I'm glad you brought up that point, because I'd like to take a moment to address that. If you were in the cable systems business, if you were Comcast, your scale issue includes installers, trucks, maintenance, network, all these pieces. We have a similar problem. When we deploy at a Modelorama in Mexico, we've got equipment, we've got installation, we got break fix, we got call center, we got all those components. And it's ridiculous to assume that Visibility, the size that we are, would ever be able to do all those things. It's a ridiculous proposition. We could never do that. But because we've had this long-term relationship with Intel, they've introduced us to some serious global players. And we've been able to figure out a way that those global players can be enveloped into our business, therefore satisfying the principal issue, which is scale. So we've checked that box. We've not yet completely announced that because we're still buttoning it down. But the principal criticism, I suppose, or observation more accurately, of the weaknesses of the model in Latin America are this concept that Visibility could hire installers and do break fix. And that. We're not even talking about doing that. We've never talked about doing that. That's not our thing. But there's an opportunity for a big partner to do that. And we finally figured that out. And I'm glad to say that that's part of what gives me comfort and confidence that we're going to meet the numbers that we've estimated.
Yeah. So basically, is this called like an integrator, or whoever does the installation,
I was trying to avoid the colloquial, the inside football phrases, but yes, systems integrator is exactly what that is.
So essentially, so you're kind of in this very kind of lightweight type of business. Like, you have no like heavy capex. There's no thousands of employees. You're not involved in that. You're basically an IP company essentially.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
A licensed company. Yep.
Okay, we got a fan from Switzerland here, from the Swiss Alps. They like coolers there also, right?
Yeah.
Ice cream. A lot of ice cream. No. Okay, so we got okay. So this kind of speaks to this question here. Do you plan on hiring more people? Get more? I don't think you need to, because you have these systems integrators. That's the beauty of kind of this model that you have, no?
For sure, that mitigates the need to hire people. However, having said that, we're moving from demand creation to execution, as I said earlier. And when you execute, you might have to add a few people to do program management, keep the people who are responsible for putting boots on the ground in check. That seems like a ridiculous notion, but you have to do that. At the end of the day, they're connected. Their success means your revenue, so you never want to be inattentive to that topic. So we've added 3 or 4 headcount in the last 6 months, specifically for and dedicated to our major projects, just because of that risk.
Okay. Do you want to just do like a separate spend a few minutes just on the security kind of component? Any new things happening there, just on that aspect, or?
Sure. Some early stage. Part of the problem that we have as an organization is we're full of secrets, and that's sort of in contradiction to this notion of a public company. But I kind of understood that going in, and especially in security, as I've mentioned before to people that know me, I speak about this Fight Club thing where you don't ever talk about Fight Club. You can't necessarily talk, at least in detail, about all your major customers. So we're just getting ready to deploy our next generation weapons detection capability, which has considerably more accuracy, 99% accuracy and false positive. So we're delighted to be working on that side by side with a couple of our most recently announced partners, 911 Inform, which was announced a couple of months ago, and with a specific focus on schools, hospitals, and interestingly enough, law enforcement. So some momentum there that we'll be talking about soon. Early days. This is Gen 2 of our software. It is our first edge-based weapons algorithm, so running completely without connectivity to the internet. So totally autonomous. And that's a breakthrough opportunity, running again on edge devices, which is our mantra. That's everything we do is running on edge.
Okay, and just if you can, just for again anybody that's watching this for the first time, just explain how that works, how
Sure.
the AI thing works for the.
Sure. So we can take a dumb camera and make it smart. By that I mean the weakness, the Achilles heel of security systems globally. This is a global phenomenon. Is that we have so many CCTV cameras out there that at the end of the day are only valuable insofar as investigative or forensic. We can tell you what happened after it's happened. It doesn't save any lives, doesn't proactively do anything, the movement of artificial intelligence into security. And let me give you some metrics. The security marketplace, about 100 plus billion right now in the US services market. It'll go to 200 plus billion in the next 2 years. And what's interesting is most of that growth, something like 87%, is in AI. Why? Because AI moves into the domain of predictive and real-time measurement. So instead of having 2 people monitor 1,500 screens like the MGM Casino in Las Vegas, we will have the software interpret those streams on behalf of the operator and make the operator aware of anything anomalous in nature. A bad guy, a weapon, a fire, a fight. All these things are algorithms that the cameras can be taught to identify with amazing accuracy and alert the operator. So this will create a sea change, and like many sea changes, will open up opportunities globally for us. And so that's our unique value proposition in security.
And it all and of course, you know, it all ties into the ad network, everything else, because part of your thing is, okay, these cameras, you can deploy them in these, advertising displays. People look at it. It's all very synergistic. It's an incredible
Army knife, Jack. It's an unfortunate phrase, but we're a Swiss Army knife. If you deploy our technology and you're deploying it in retail, you may want it to look for 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 things. But if it's in security, you may want 1, 2, 3 things. Or if it's in a blend, a retailer may want to look for bad guys as well as look for marketing analytics. So we've got this unique ability that is all software enabled. So you just drag and drop the algorithms into the camera construct, and it's running that algorithm.
Let's get to some more questions here. WestRock, that's the sign company. Any updates? What's happening there?
Yeah, this slightly cryptic update, as I mentioned before, which is deployment where we've got planning likely to go in July on the West Coast, the largest deployment we've ever done with them. And I think the audience is probably familiar with the deal we've done with CBS, and that's growing as well.
Let's kind of recap the whole thing. In other words, you're doing. Who's WestRock? What you're doing with them? How big is the deal?
I had assumed by the phrasing that there was some awareness of who WestRock is, but you're right. Let's not assume that everybody knows.
Jason knows WestRock. We may have 5,000 people. Yeah.
Yeah. So WestRock is an S&P company, so large company. I think they did about 18 billion in revenue last year. And just as a quick aside, we don't mess around with the small guys. Our objective is we bring kick-ass innovation to the big companies, and they bring us reach. We bring innovation, they bring reach, and that's always been our plan. We're not going to build. It's a significant difference in how you go to market, and it's a choice. It takes more time. Big companies take forever, but they recognize the value and innovation comes from small companies. They really do. And even the biggest companies on the planet recognize this, and more to come on that, because that's part of exactly how we go to market. I've lost track of the question. Remind me again. WestRock. WestRock is an S&P company.
I distracted you.
But that was me. WestRock is an S&P company. They come from the display business. They do billions of cardboard boxes and millions of displays every year. Huge company. But if you look at that business, which by the way is dominated by grocery, we're building a corrugated cardboard box and display for Hershey or for Budweiser or for Heineken. That business is moving digital, inevitably. And so we are their exclusive digital partner. Anything they do in the digital sphere is fulfilled by us. So we do all the data analytics, we do all the display, we do all the components of their delivery model. A very integrated relationship. We're very proud of it. It's family now. We work very closely together, and I think there's more to come with us between that relationship.
So basically, it's okay. So WestRock, they do all the signs in stores. So essentially, So what's interesting is that, again, you said this before, but VSBY essentially has partnerships with these massive companies that have this huge reach, whether it's like the Sensormatic that gets you into stores, you got WestRock, you have this
Yeah.
Mellow. I mean, you're not like fooling around with like little rinky.
Yeah. How is it? How is it that we talk about the major partners Visibility has, and not talk about JCI? Sensormatic.
Yeah.
They're an enormous company. I think 70+ billion, and an integrated partner with us. More to come. They're doing some unique announcements in the next several weeks. We're integrated. We're an OEM part. They take our software, they relabel it, they put it inside their software, and they sell it. Again, we bring innovation, we bring flexibility, they bring reach.
You know what's interesting? So the deal with WestRock is you're going to be doing digital again. Really VSB is going to be a critical component of the digital transformation of the retail store. Pretty much. I mean, whether it's like pharmacy, like drugstores, places where people pick up, from the shelf, right? Not maybe not like a clothing store, like I don't know, whatever, but like stuff where you're grabbing something from the shelf, putting it in your basket, and walking out. Okay, so we're already seeing. That business has to change, right? Because you have a labor shortage, you have people they need to cut costs. There's multiple reasons, not only to cut costs, for efficiencies, and of course, who is at the forefront of this? Who knows retail? Amazon. I was just passing an Amazon store. I didn't walk inside it, but it's all basically you walk in like I don't know. You don't touch it. I mean, just put stuff in your basket. You walk out. You don't talk to anybody. What will be amazing is this is a perfect fit. Because you have a security aspect, so you have the marketing aspect, so the security aspect. So the guy's not walking out with all the groceries. The marketing, so that you can target ads to them as they're passing by that shelf, and it's all going to be just like It's like I think the grocery store of the future is going to be like walking into like an iPhone or like an app. It's all going to be digital signs.
This is a future, but the natural extension of computer vision in retail is moving away or coupling person detection, which I've talked to you about, emotion detection, gender detection, age detection, to object detection. What if I could tell PepsiCo that a 25-year-old female bought a 1-liter bottle of Pepsi at 15:42 in the afternoon? I've recognized, because computer vision does a good job of detecting objects too. What if I could recognize that Pepsi can coming off the shelf? Now I've not only solved a conversion problem, I'm turning into a shopper geek now, but that's a conversion problem, but it's also an inventory management problem. So if you talk about a personless store, what the industry calls in frictionless store or walk in, walk out, WeWo, nobody's there. And so that's a computer vision circus. There's so many opportunities for computer vision in an application where there's nobody in the store. Advertising, inventory management, what they call planogram compliance, is the PepsiCo product where the Coca-Cola product should be. Computer vision problem. So there's all sorts of opportunities, and we're doing some early development with one of our key partners right now on that exact category.
It's funny. You just touched on the analytics, but the big value for all these things with your technology, with the AI, is really the analytics. It's not even so much serving up the ad, but it's letting Pepsi know that okay, we're selling the most product at 2 in the afternoon to 25-year-old females. Let's run ads for the I don't know what's that thing that they sell those seltzers, the White Claw. It's like a millennial thing or something. So
we've got the big brands and the big vendors to retail now waking up to this data reality. It is the next big wave. Data is going to be as valuable, potentially more valuable than the advertising metrics that we can clearly deliver. But to connect that to real-time data analytics, not only with respect to transaction log, it's as simple as this, Jack. We don't know who you are, but we know a person of your age and description looked at the PepsiCo, and then 47 seconds later, a bunch of Pepsi was sold. That's a correlation event.
And they bought a bag of chips and something else, and then okay, this guy. So then we could target ads to whatever the males, 28 to 32 of chips and this.
Exactly.
Okay, whatever. It's an incredible thing. So it fits right into the. I think this is going to be one of the big themes. And somebody just made a very interesting comment, which is the stock will awaken as soon as we see this displayed at our local retail store. So
yeah, that may be true.
I think basically when people see this, then all of a sudden they're going to like, oh, this is what the guy's talking about. Oh, okay. Because a lot of
that may be true. I hope it won't take that long, but yeah, it's possible.
Okay, but let's say in terms of Canada right now, I think you're doing stuff with Canadian Tire. Are you doing?
They suffered a mammoth shutdown in Ontario for 6 weeks. And I don't even know if they're back now, but we're still running. It's a subset of stores, but we have opportunities to grow there significantly for sure.
Okay, you're right. You're right. So that's the one thing that may have put a damper. Maybe that could have put some pressure on the stock. But your market right now really is in Latin America. That's most of your business is coming from right now.
There's a boomerang effect, isn't there? Latin America never really shut down to the extent that we did in North America. Certainly, we've been impacted by. There's 40 Modeloramas on the install schedule for next week. 17 are closed. That happens. But the U.S. marketplace has just bounced back and bounced back solidly. We have probably 7 different deployments in various stages of deployment planning, all of which are significant, and we wouldn't have any of them.
Jay, the U.S. market, I think, is going to it's going to come roaring back, and the demand right now, I think for big retailers, anybody who's running a chain of 1,000 stores, the thing that they want is this like automation, analytics, because they're really worried about getting employees. I mean, there's a shortage of labor right now, and this thing
retail's terrified of Amazon.
Yeah,
retail's if you're not terrified of Amazon and retail, you're not paying attention.
So essentially, your technology will enable anybody to become an Amazon store. Pretty
right,
much.
And in fact, I would argue better, because Amazon is mostly an online experience. In online, we don't get the kind of the level of analytics. They don't deliver the analytics that we deliver, and we do it at store. Where experiential experiences, that sounds redundant, but I think you know what I mean. In store is now incredibly relevant, and you cannot deliver that in an online sphere. So the idea of colliding online with offline, that's the next reality. So,
for example, let's say CVS, right? CVS, they're having a hard time, getting, staff, for the store, right? I mean, as it is, everything is self-checkout, all that other nonsense. So, I mean, they could pop in all your, the digital displays, the analytics, the security. It's all a turnkey. It's all in one, essentially. So the only thing that you need to add now is the credit card thing, basically, pretty much.
Exactly.
Are you adding that? Are you adding the checkout component?
What if my product in store required some explanation? Think of the whole category of nutraceuticals.
Oh, yeah.
Everything in that category requires explanation. Well, there's nobody working in these stores. Who's going to explain that to me? Digital activation at shelf, which provides at-shelf education, is table stakes now. You can't deploy it without it. So the idea of, if you were just to take that category, high margin, which is what we need, an educational sale, which is also what we need, in a store that's got nobody working in it.
Oh, so, this is crazy. Yeah, you can't find anybody in the store like say, hey, especially if you're talking about nutraceuticals. This is good luck, right? But imagine what a great opportunity for these brands to have. Like like you have GNC was I think they're a store, vitamin stores, whatever. Imagine you have like the whole store is lined with your displays and ads as somebody's is passing by the whatever it is, the weight loss thing or the muscle building supplements. I mean, you're the muscle building supplement. You see those big things. It's a massive market, I'm sure, and they're all trying to differentiate, right? Everybody's trying to differentiate. Imagine if you could have this thing and you have Arnold Schwarzenegger, you're passing by and Arnold Schwarzenegger pops out and says, "Hey, check this out. This is for you." It would be incredible.
So what we've seen in grocery, of the various categories in grocery that's got high velocity, that's the one that's got, it's nutraceuticals, it's the very baby formula, the very high margin elements of retail that are benefiting from promotion, because when you promote a brand, 24 to 30% growth lift. That's what happens.
Okay, so it's basically so that's going to be essentially that's where you think it's really going to start. Those guys, you know, who they're going to be the early adopters, the ones where like with the vitamins, all that other stuff.
I think we're past the early adopters. I think we've seen the early adopters. We've now validated the market model. We've validated the business proposition, and we validated, most importantly, we validated the media rate card. What's it actually worth?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why I think, and we spent 3 years and $16 million doing that. So we're now at a point where we've done that. The evangelical work is over, and now we're into the inflection. And that's what's exciting for me.
Ramsey is asking, can I interact with the interface? In other words,
I can read the question, and the answer is yes, you can. The principal interaction modality is, in the world of COVID, contactless. So that's voice and gesture, and we'll move back to touch. Touch is the most intuitive interface. So we'll see both of those.
Okay, transparent for user displays. This is going to be the big thing. Okay, so Jay, I think we should kind of recap here. So the big idea, I think, from the investor's perspective is, you know, the goal here, or the plan is, there's a real clear roadmap to 100 million revenues within the next 3 years.
I think that's right. Yeah.
Okay. So as an investor, I think, you know, that you know, investors would pay, you know, 10, 20x that. So, you know, you're talking about $1 billion, $2 billion valuation. You divide it, now you have, you know, right now the market cap is only, what is it, $50-60 million. So you have 30, 40x from here upside.
Yeah, we do that modeling internally, and your modeling is not far from our modeling.
So okay, so now let's kind of recap what kind of news flow can we expect in the next couple of next 4 to 6 weeks?
Well, as I mentioned before, part of our problem is the secrets we can't tell. So but I mean, I think the market is waiting for our definitive agreement with ABI, the creation of the joint venture.
Okay.
And I think that will be done before the end of the month. I'm 1,000% certain. We've moved past all the due diligence. We've done the sort of blocking and tackling of creating the various entities, which is the biggest hurdle, frankly. That's underway, and we're also deploying at ABI. So we haven't delayed deployment to create, to wait for this creation. There's other, and I have to be slightly cryptic here, there's other momentum underway, which is equally sizable to ABI, that I think we'll be able to get out in the month of June at the latest, and potentially sooner. Commercial engagements with very large companies in multiple form factors. And I'm delighted by that. I'm sorry, I'm not going to be a gunslinger and talk too much about it, because it's their eyes are on us, and our eyes are on the opportunity.
Okay, multiple form factors. Sounds
yes. Right. And we also announced a deal with Ability, where we're actually going to the next level with Ability, where we're co-marketing our product globally. And we've already got deals in the pipeline that Ability, the guys that build the smart camera that we put our software on the camera, we've already got momentum globally with that. So I'm delighted by some of the things that we have in the air. I recognize the responsibility to be more communicative to the shareholders, but the problem is nobody would want me to risk a deal by communicating prematurely. So we're taking the time to make sure we've got it buttoned up, and at that time we'll be talking to the marketplace. And I recognize the need for urgency and transparency.
Okay. Okay. So I mean that pretty much, I think, covers it. We'll keep track of what you have coming out in terms of news flow down the road, and this hopefully this could be our next 100 bagger. We need our first 100x here.
I expect it to be.
Okay, Jay, thank you very much. Thank you everybody for joining our live stream, and we'll see you in the next one.
Thank you, Jeff.